Coming up now on Animal Outtakes, protecting native wildlife. We ride along with the South Florida python hunter, learning what goes into the work of patrolling the Everglades for the elusive and invasive Burmese python. And we're getting up close with the largest spider in the world. Meet Tiny, also known as a Goliath bird eater. Plus, we tackle the topic of coyotes, discussing what you should and shouldn't do if you happen upon one in your neighborhood. This and much more straight ahead on Animal Outtakes. The Burmese python. It's an invasive species in Florida. It has an insatiable appetite, and it preys on pretty much every animal in the Everglades. It's a large, non-venomous constrictor that poses a threat to both humans and animals. These pythons are found mostly in and around the Everglades in South Florida. And over the past several years, humans have intervened. Quite often, social media reels feature highlights of catching these massive animals in record numbers. But governing bodies have created rules and regulations on the removal of this snake. The Python Elimination Program started back in 2017. Since its inception, python removal agents with the Southwest Florida Water Management District have turned in more than 7,000 Burmese pythons. And we were lucky enough to ride along on a hunt to see what goes into the often tedious work of searching for these snakes. The days and nights can be long.
We're at the L28 levee, trying to do a morning run of some python hunting to see if they're coming out to get some sun to warm up since they're cold-blooded.
Jeremy Turner is contracted by the Southwest Florida Water Management District to hunt pythons. He and his brother have had some incredible catches over the years. He's grown up in Florida and hopes each time he heads out, he's making a difference for generations to come.
We started getting our cold fronts and then colder nights, which then causes the snakes to transition to daytime movement to try to warm up their body. Today is not so cold, but it's still been a decent day yesterday in terms of weather, so we may get lucky to get one out trying to warm up their organs to start their day off. Lots of hours upon hours of seeing absolutely nothing or seeing some native snakes versus seeing the pythons. It's not as easy as Instagram and Facebook and YouTube makes it. But that's the fun of it. You get to explore the area, and it isn't like you're catching pythons every other minute, which is a plus because we know we're doing somewhat of our part in terms of the areas we hunt at, where we see less and less and more people are hunting. A lot of brush right here. Water's high. I've seen quite a bit of panther, lots of deer, raccoons, bobcats, panthers. I've seen full grown, I've seen babies, as well as on my trail cams. So that's one of the benefits of actually being a contractor. You get access to some of these places that a lot of people don't have access to besides by foot. You get to see some other native wildlife and scenery you would not get to see normally. It's daytime, I'm strictly looking for any type of either movement in the water, the weeds, and or the pattern of the snake itself. And the shadow spots I'm not really looking in. It's the spots with the sunlight on it, seeing if they're going to be in that area trying to warm up. You know, they'll try to be somewhat elusive. We've caught ones where they're just sticking the part of their body out where their organs are at, trying to warm them up and try to conceal the rest of their body, so you're not able to see them as well. So they're not dumb animals, and their body's natural ability to camouflage in the weeds and the grass and even in the water real well is a big advantage for them. I see something that looks like a snake up here. Yeah, it's yellow rat snake.
poisonous?
Nope,
Okay.
harmful.
It's gonna probably run when I.
Yeah, it will run when we get out there, so we'll go out there. That's a good sign, though. That's a nice sized yellow rat snake. 3.5 foot. When you go slow, the vibration, they don't get spooked as easy. See how it puffed up? Wants to be bigger. So that's a native. One slip of the eye, you could be passing a record breaker, you could be passing a small one. You're just trying to keep focused, yeah, keep your eyes moving all around so you're not almost in like a trance looking around. It is definitely a patience game. I've spent a lot of solo nights out here from 8 p.m. until 4 or 5 a.m. It's peaceful though, quiet. I have to use the maps to check in with the program, which is GPS tracked. And then we have to put the names of our assistants with us. And that's how we get tracked and get paid by the state, by South Florida Water Management District. It's not just hop in a truck and go out to the swamp and python hunt. It's you got to do background checks. You got to make sure that the people with you are checked in, and also when we catch a snake, we use that to check in the snakes in that location. Main thing, most of the time, not all the time, but right on the edge of the grass line is where the snakes tend to be at, where the food's running. So sometimes they'll be what we call periscoping, and they'll be looking straight this way, up in the air a little bit, and you're gonna see just a pure white line, almost like a tree limb, but it's the underbelly of the python. If not, we're looking for the pattern. If they're not periscoping, you're looking for the pattern or a snake either on the road or in the wood line, on the grass line, several different areas they could be at. It's hard to see on your camera, I know, but we've already passed several rats and rodents on the edge that'll hop in as soon as we pass by and the lights get on them. It's a good sign though, that means the snake food's right there. About 2 months ago, I caught 49 hatchlings in one night out of a nest of 86 eggs, which were all viable and hatched egg shells I ended up finding after we caught the 49 babies in one night, and I think 3 or 4 more over the next night and a half. They were literally just coming out of the egg. I must have got there and they must have started hatching an hour before I got there, because they were everywhere within 50 to 100 feet of the nesting site, including in the trees, on the branches, 20 feet up in a tree. Me and my twin ended up catching a female sitting on a clutch of 74 eggs. I think she was, I want to say 16 foot or 15'9". She was big, and she was guarding those eggs. Found her underneath a root system for Australian pine trees and big cypress. So that was a pretty unique catch. That was a fun catch. They do bite, yeah. So for the most part, the bite, just like any other animal, it's more of a reactive bite. It isn't necessarily, oh, I want to eat you. It's, hey, leave me alone, let me go, whatever it may be. So it's definitely in how you treat the animal, and then also their personality. Quite a bit of coyotes out here. They're nice size too. Just on this road alone, bear, panther, coyote, raccoon, possum, deer, but not as much as you would have seen 10, 15, 20 years ago. It's definitely a big difference. Takes every snake out of here is a win, especially when you're getting the babies out of here that haven't had a chance to get big enough to decimate the larger mammal population. They're mostly eating frogs, rodents, lizards, stuff of that nature. A lot of people think that you can make a career out of python hunting, and 2 things. 1, that's incorrect, and 2, that's not should be the reason you're doing it. I'm actually a full-time salaried manager at Home Depot. Been there for going on 17 years. But this is more of a feel-good type job. Of course, working for the state, yes, you do get paid, but if you don't catch a python, you're not making money each night. You're losing money every time you come out, especially for a person like me that lives an hour away just to get to the hunting grounds. But again, I don't do it for the money. I do it for, hey, you know, getting these out of here one at a time and making a difference. Being a contractor for the state, we have to, by the legal process, have to euthanize them within 24 hours, humanely. And then we have to do a check-in with our bosses on the length and the sex of the snake. And also they'll see our information based on where we caught them at, based on the order we turn those snakes in. If they're eating, they're not doing wrong in terms of what they're doing, they're just doing nature's work, but they're in the wrong area doing it. So as a person out here, you gotta think of the positive, what impact you're doing. Even if it's one snake, that one snake could be a female, and 5 years down the road, and she's breeding hundreds of eggs throughout her years of breeding. I mean, that's a big difference. People tend to say, oh, you're not gonna get rid of them. And the goal is to get rid of everyone we can, that we can touch, that we can see, and put the den in that population.
You can follow Jeremy on social media. Just search for the Everglades Python Snatchers on Instagram. Coming up next on Animal Outtakes, Tiny the tarantula.
Good morning, Mr. Benson. Your breakfast is served.
Time for another day in doggy paradise. I sure am one lucky pup.
Mr. Benson, would you like to go out for your morning stroll? The weather is quite lovely today.
That sounds wonderful. Don't mind if I do. After all that exercise, I think I'd like to lounge by the pool and maybe dip my paws in.
As you wish, sir. Right this way.
Ah, what a perfect day. I couldn't imagine being anywhere else but Dantes Den while Mom and Dad are away.
At Dantes Den, we pride ourselves in providing the best experience for your beloved pup. Whether it be a day, a month, or a year, Dantes Den should always be at the top of your list for boarding. With an expansive campus, your dog will enjoy daily walks, pool time, and an endless supply of love. Even better, it's all under 24/7 supervision from our wonderful staff. If you're anything like us, your dog's safety and happiness come first. To learn more about Dantes Den, visit dantesden.org.
Now, who do we have here?
So this is Tiny. She is a Burgundy Goliath bird-eating spider, and she's the largest species of spider in the world. She's about 9.5, 10 inches right now. She can grow up to 12, which is about the size of a dinner plate.
Oh my. If I saw this spider not in your hands, after I shrieked and I took a breath, I would be swatting. Is she misunderstood? Is she safe?
So these spiders are very misunderstood. I mean, you can see it's a very, very large spider, so it's easy to be afraid of one. But they're not dangerous. Their venom is very weak, about that of a bee sting, so it's not going to send you to the hospital or anything unless you have a severe allergic reaction, which is very rare.
And where would we find these? Are they around barns? Are they around homes? Where are they?
So these guys come from South America. These spiders live on the ground in deep burrows. They're very heavy spiders, so they're not small enough to climb trees, because if they were to fall, that would be very bad for the spider.
What is their life expectancy, do you know?
So these guys can live from 20 to 25 years.
Oh my.
So they are very long-lived. Females live about that long. Males live a little less. They can live up to 8 years.
And what do you feed them?
So I feed this guy, or girl, discoid roaches, which are like large roaches.
So they're not the Florida roaches?
They are not the Florida roaches.
Okay.
They do not climb smooth surfaces, they don't spread diseases, and they won't get into your food. So I have a colony of those, and they are full of protein. They actually have more protein pound for pound than a steak.
You must have an interesting house.
I have an interesting room.
Well, I must say, as spiders go, she is beautiful.
So those are the fangs right there.
Oh yeah, yeah, and they're curved.
They are curved. So tarantulas are, they're what are called primitive spiders, which means their fangs are going to go downwards. Most spiders we see, their fangs are going to go like in a pincher movement. But tarantulas, trapdoor spiders, and species like that are going to have fangs that go straight down, and you can hear she's actually hissing a little bit. They can their fangs are so big they can rub them together and make a hissing noise.
Now that hissing noise, is she happy?
She's not mad. They actually can't have feelings, which is good for us.
Would you recommend that this becomes a pet in somebody's home?
If it's your first tarantula, then no, absolutely not. They get very large. They do have what are called urticating hairs, which they will rub their back legs up against their abdomen and release a cloud of hair when they feel threatened. And that hair is almost like fiberglass. On New World tarantulas, most of them have this, New World meaning coming from the Americas.
You've referred to her as a bird eater. What is that really?
So most tarantulas from South America are called bird eaters, but these are the true bird eaters. There are 3 species, the Burgundy, blonde, and pinkfoot bird eaters. And she's the Burgundy. She's the Burgundy. The reason they're called that is because they're large enough to take on birds. I believe they were discovered, the first one was discovered eating a bird on the forest floor. The thing is, they most likely aren't going to be eating birds on a regular basis because they do not climb trees. They're not the fastest, and, well, birds aren't really going to come into contact with them. They will eat mice and small rodents, small snakes, lizards, stuff like that, but not as much birds.
So that's really their position in the ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting. She is adorable, and I'm glad she's in your hands. Stay with us. There's more animal outtakes coming up next.
Did you know Moat is helping restore depleted snook populations and has raised and released 30,000 of them into local waterways so far? The more you know about everything Moat's doing to help our oceans, the more you'll understand why Moat matters. Visit moat.org today.
Welcome back. According to the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, coyotes have been found in all 67 counties in Florida. A coyote is a medium-sized canine and a close relative to the domestic dog. These animals adapt to the environment easily and can be found pretty much anywhere, which can lead to encounters with humans. We recently spoke with staff at the Peace River Wildlife Center about coyotes, because they often get calls from the public about these animals. And from their standpoint, it's best to coexist to help us all maintain a balanced ecosystem.
We get a lot of calls about coyotes. People are surprised when they see them, and I'm not really sure why that is. They're everywhere. They're in every county in Florida. They've been here since the 70s. They are not a native species here in Florida, but they have been naturalized. Basically, they come in here. They've taken over the top predator position since we've gotten rid of all of the wolves, which used to be our top predator here. Panthers, which are a top predator in a very small area now because we've just squished them into an area, where they can't survive very well. So they're our top predator at this point, and they're very adaptive. Like the dogs with the cavemen, they figured out how to live with us. So they do prefer farmland and forests, but they do very well in urban and suburban communities. We've had a number of calls. People are concerned. There's a coyote walking around a neighborhood, hobbling on 3 legs. It looks like from the pictures that we've seen, probably has a leg fractured, and may have gotten sideswiped by a car or may have been in a fight with another coyote or dog or something. But we've been getting calls for a long time now. We have spent hours. We have our volunteers, our employees, Animal Control, Animal Services has helped us with that. We've tried to catch this guy to no avail. He is fast and he's smart. He's smarter than we are. So At this point, we're just kind of cautiously keeping an eye on him. We've got a lot of people that live in that neighborhood and they see him every now and then. He seems to be in good flesh. He's not losing weight. He's not getting weak. So I think this is an old healing injury and he's doing fine. You know, like we said, we usually tell people if it's difficult to catch it, it probably doesn't need to be caught. So he's living his best life out there and we're just kind of keeping an eye on him from a distance, and I think he's going to be fine. People call us, they see them crossing the street, they're around. They really don't need to be frightened of them. You know, they're an inquisitive canine type animal, but they're also very leery of people. So, you know, if you're out walking your little dog and you see one and it's coming towards you, you just make a fuss, you wave your arms, you rattle your keys, they'll run away. You know, they're not going to come up and take a dog off of a leash. If you leave your cats out at night to roam the neighborhood or let your dog out after dark by himself, and there's a very hungry coyote in the neighborhood, there's a chance that he will attack that animal. So you're best off, you know, always keep your cats inside. It's better for the wildlife anyway. And if you've got small dogs, walk them on leashes or go out with them, especially after dark. They're an interesting species. They have a very specific territory, very territorial, and the pair will live there and their offspring will live there until the offspring get old enough to branch out and have territory of their own. And one of the things that I think people don't understand is if you cull them, if you trap them, kill them, shoot them, whatever, if you get rid of the ones in the particular territory, it's going to fill back up. And it's going to fill back up even faster and worse because they breed specifically to like how, you know, their territory size, how abundant food is, you know, depending on the natural resources. And if you start picking them off, the females go into heat earlier, they breed faster, and they breed bigger litters. So you're really shooting yourself in the foot by trying to take them out. You're better off to just live with what's there, and you know, if it's, you know, if they're causing a problem for you, obviously you have to take care of that. But you know, instead of killing the coyote because it killed your chicken, build a better chicken coop. You know, my problem, I had chickens myself, and I could not keep the raccoons out. I had to keep putting, you know, cage in a cage in a cage until eventually we were able to figure out what worked. But you know, you're not going to kill one raccoon and think that that's going to solve your issues, because there's lots of other raccoons out there, and it's the same with the coyotes. You know, we have to be smarter than them, and that's tough because they're pretty smart little guys.
We'll be right back.
Did you know Mode is caring for more than 2,000 genotypes of corals? And that represents the single largest collection of coral genetic diversity outside of Mother Nature herself? The more you know about everything Mode's doing to help our oceans, the more you'll understand why Mode matters.
Animal Outtakes is produced by Dantes Den Foundation, a nonprofit group dedicated to creating the best life for dogs. If you would like to learn more about Dantes Den, donate, or volunteer, visit our website, dantesden.org.
We hope you had fun and learned a thing or two along the way. We'll be back here again next week with even more animals and some engaging encounters. Until then, thanks for watching.
Don't worry, they're not that dangerous. I'm kidding, they're not dangerous at all.
Marcia, why don't you let the spider do that to you?
Why don't you do it and I'll hold the camera?